Church, Dr. Pia came in and did her damn thing. I'm a fan. But Justin, let this be a lesson to you. Sometimes it's okay to stop when your ass is still behind. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. Alright, y'all, so let's jump right on into our hot topics and talk about Dr. Pia. Now, what I liked about Dr. Pia, baby, is that mama was clear, concise, and to the point, okay? She did not waste any time. She did not try to be Dr. Viviana. She did not try to be anybody else but who she was, right? She says, I'm Dr. Pia. I do psychology and sex issues, and baby, I can show you what I can do better than I can tell you, right? So very excited that she jumped right into an activity because it instantly let us know why she was here and what she could bring to the table, right? So very interested to see what she does for these couples this season and how she furthers their development in the psychology and the sex issues standpoint. Now, moving on to our general couple updates, let's talk about Stacia and Nate. Now, baby, this episode I wrote that Stacia was acting from the point of desperation. And the reason why I wrote that, y'all, is because when Stacia got in front of the camera and she said, I want him to say that he loves me because I want to hear it, but also because, I want him to mean it, okay? To me, mama, those two statements are not congruent, okay? They're diametrically opposed, right? You can't want somebody to say that they love you, right? Because you just want to hear it, but also want them to mean it, okay? And if we're just going to level set here, if it's only been 3 weeks, quiet as it's kept, I would have been looking at Nate with more of a side eye if he was telling you everything that you wanted to hear, right? So the mere fact that he's on his own timetable in the situation leads me to believe that he's truthful in terms of saying that he's on a different path than yours in terms of his way to love, right? It's not Nate's fault that Stacia is at 80% to love and he's at 40%. We are two different people. Yes, we're going through the same experiment, but we come from two different backgrounds, baby. And people are the sum total of their life's experiences, okay? And just because Stacia can get to love faster or near to love faster does not make Nate's journey any less valuable, right? So very upset, or just not really upset, but more disappointed in Stacia because I feel like as such a boss lady, as such an assertive person, she kind of like like the old lady say, like she showed her slip in the situation. Like she let it slip, like, she cared more about the situation than, she was kind of trying to let on. And it almost seemed like she was trying to trap him in an answer, right? Like this whole episode is kind of like, it's structured around Mitch and Krysten in terms of her statement, are you trying to gaslight me? But in a way, I honestly feel like it also describes Stacia and Nate because gaslighting is trying to get someone animated, like light their fire in a negative way. And it seems like that's exactly what she was trying to do to Nate. She kept asking the same questions, expecting a different result, baby. And listen, what do they say? The definition of insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results. So you could ask that damn question every single way from A to Zimbabwe. His answer did not change. And the fact that you wanted it to change meant that there was some sort of disconnect in terms of where you are and where he is right now and being reasonable in light of that it's only been 3 weeks. Baby, he just signed up for therapy last week. It's going to take him a little bit longer to unlock his emotional vulnerability and also, try to get to a better level together as a couple or get to love at the same time, which I don't think is even realistic. Yes, Pastor Cal says that love is a choice. And, for some couples, it seems like they're choosing to be in love versus rather feeling it themselves. But I don't think that just because for some people that it's a choice to be in love, that for others, it has to be the same thing. Like for me, Stacia is treating Nate like one of her investments, right? I said Stacia is a boss lady. She comes from that financial world. She deals in return on investment. She deals in capital expenditure. She deals in, what do the finances look like? What does the balance sheet look like? And unfortunately, in this situation, that methodology is not comparable to what the experiment is supposed to glean for people, right? Like you can't treat it like an investment. I put in 3 weeks of X input, so I should get Y result. It doesn't work that way sometimes in matters of the heart. So she's going to need to give him a little bit of grace in the scenario and trust that the actions that he is making, yes, it might not be on your timetable, but it's on his timetable and it's actionable items that are showing you that he cares and that he's invested in the situation. I've always said, if you tell somebody that there's a problem and they try to fix it, keep that person around. And if you tell them there's a problem and they do nothing about it, leave that person alone because they don't care. And through his actions and the way that he's proceeding, Nate is showing that he cares. It's just not in the way that Stacia is used to receiving it, which doesn't mean that it's wrong or doesn't mean that it's not valuable. Now let's move on to Alexis and Justin. Let's talk about the Dr. Pia scene. Now, let this be a lesson to Justin, just like I said in the intro, baby. Like, if Justin says that he is not good at explaining himself, or if anybody says that they're not good at explaining themselves, why in the hell would you put your hand up to go first? Okay, like let's just level set at that point, okay? If you are not good at explaining yourself and the damn activity is structured for your ass to explain yourself, exactly why would you set your ass up to fail, okay? The problem is Justin thought he was more advanced in his wordplay than he was, and he quickly found out that it wasn't the damn case, right? Now listen, for me, it's the contradiction of it all, because if we break it down into manageable pieces, the issue is this. On the Justin side, he's saying that he has been hurt in the past. And because he was hurt in the past, he's developed this kind of armor that he takes into future relationships so that he does not get hurt, right? And all Dr. Pia and Alexis were trying to say is that that armor that you have created to take with you so that you don't get hurt, that's a response to trauma, right? And you're taking it into your subsequent relationships. Period, hard stop, okay? Now, the fact that Justin couldn't conceptualize this, that was the part that was sending me, right? Because listen, when Justin gets confronted, he withdraws, right? And so he doesn't view any sort of inputs that people are telling him as constructive criticism. Rather, he sees them as critiques. And if I'm giving you constructive criticism and you're taking it as a critique, you're not going to hear anything I'm saying no matter how I'm saying it, right? So what does he do? He withdraws and then he lashes out. I could break it down like a third grader and you wouldn't understand it. If you're not going to get it, you're not going to get it. That's very dismissive, right? And if you think about it, that's a trauma response in and of itself in terms of I associate people's constructive criticism with them actually trying to critique me, right? And tell me something bad about myself when all Alexis is saying, like, let me help you, help me, help us. Or however she so eloquently put it, y'all. But I think, what you could see in that scene is that Justin was lost and they were kind of trying to let him figure it out. It's almost like the other couples were silently trying to say, okay, pull up, Justin, pull up. Like, you're kind of in the weeds. You got to pull up. And he never fully got the message. But listen, part of being married at first sight is giving people a certain level of grace, right? In terms of you're not always going to get it right. You're not always going to say the correct thing, but that's okay as long as you're willing to keep coming back to the table and working through our issues, right? So glad that it ended well. But Justin, if your ass is behind, sometimes it's okay to just stay there. Just give up while your ass is behind, because between Dr. Pia, who is not new to this, mama is true to this, and Alexis, who seems to see through who you really are at your core, I don't think that there was any situation where you were going to win that damn scenario. Now, moving on to Krysten and Mitch. Let's talk about these whole, the real estate flipping dreams. Now, at the core, the central issue is that Krysten was trying to have a deep conversation when Mitch wasn't in the mindset to have it, right? Now, if he's in the kitchen and he's acting goofy and, playing around and cooking, I don't know if that was the best scenario for you to be trying to like have a deep life timetable, life career decision conversation. But listen, sometimes things don't come out the way they're supposed to, but when you look back on it, perhaps it was the way it was supposed to happen. Now, I have a mode of thought in terms of why Mitch couldn't be very, not accepting, but very he couldn't create the environment for her to feel comfortable for sharing, her perspective in that situation. And I fully believe that because Mitch, one thing that Mitch is going to do is that he's going to tell his truth, right? And I think his way of being goofy in that situation and not kind of leaning into what she wanted to talk about was more so trying to protect the conversation and her than it was that he just, was so enamored with cooking and being goofy in the kitchen. I think he saw that the conversation was going to head left based on how he was feeling. And so in order to avoid that, let me be goofy, let me not give her what she needs in the scenario, and then I can at least delay this for a little bit, right? Now, at the core of the issue, Krysten wants to be a real estate investor in a sense, right? She has her California real estate license. She wants to buy properties, flip them, fix them up, flip them, XYZ, right? And so my central issue is that, I don't have a problem with people having disagreements, right? And for Mitch advocating for his truth. The issue is that Mitch couldn't even get past how that situation would affect him, right? Because in his mind, if she puts her mind to it, she's going to be successful. And if she's successful, I'm going to be living in, a big house, driving a fancy car. And that's disingenuous to who I purported myself to be, right? So it was kind of like the conflict of the inner self, right? In terms of the path that she's on and the path that I've chosen for myself. I just feel that it's okay to disagree with somebody as long as you can come up with actionable items to move forward, right? Like, I don't think Krysten is discounting that sometimes, buying a house, fixing it up, and flipping, it can kind of have the connotation of displacing people from, their neighborhoods, gentrification, and the like, right? So I don't have a problem with Mitch advocating for himself. I'm just saying, okay, listen, if this is how you feel about it, how do we work forward from it? Like, what are the solutions that you have? How can we make it more, Captain Save the Planet friendly? How can we make it more sustainable? How can we make it more palatable to who you are as a person without giving up who I am as a person, right? So like I said, there's no problem with having disagreements. It's just don't always come to the situation with problems. Try to work in some solutions. And for Mitch's part in it, he came with a whole bunch of problems in terms of how it affected him, but no actionable solutions in terms of how they could move forward. And that was the issue that I had. Now, moving on to Shirtgate, baby. Once again, I am glad that Dr. Pia was there because Dr. Pia kind of gave context to a situation where all of us could have just been like, yo, Mitch, like, what the hell is the problem, right? Like, Mitch has bitchy ways, okay? There's no if, ands, or buts about it. He has bitchy ways. He's very confident in himself and who he is and what he believes. And anything that comes in conflict with that needs to be attacked. And he doesn't see any place for it in his life, right? Now, on the surface of it, if your wife buys you a shirt, and to me, in most marriages, the wife has the most style, right? And she's usually responsible for helping her husband in his fashion choices. So I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary for Krysten to give the man the shirt, notwithstanding that it was actually part of a bigger plan in terms of getting all the husbands to wear the damn same shirt, right? So on the surface, I don't think it's an issue. Now, Dr. Pia was very instrumental in kind of understanding that there's another layer to it, right? Most times it's not just the surface level, right? There's an underlying issue. So it's not the shirt itself, it's what the shirt represents. And the shirt represents giving up control, not being authentic to who I am, letting somebody change me, getting morphed into someone else's vision for myself and losing myself in the process, right? But listen, the gag is the more Mitch advocates for himself and his individuality, the more that Krysten seems to devalue, diminish, and disrespect herself, in the words of, Ian Levan Zant, okay? And it's gonna come to a point where they're going to have to find some sort of constructive way to move forward, because it can't be, I in the relationship if it's supposed to be we, right? And I don't want Krysten to keep losing herself in the situation because she wants it to work so badly, right? Like sometimes in life, you can want a relationship that maybe shouldn't work out to work out because, you kind of attack it in a blunt force way, right? It's like, I know that these things aren't authentic to who I am, but these things make him happy, and if he's happy, I see a way forward for us as a couple, right? And I think you have to kind of reformat that mindset. It goes all the way back to his initial non-attraction to her. It's like she jumped in the driver's seat of that situation. She advocated for herself, and that kind of changed the tidal wave in terms of how he felt about her and their progression up to this point. And so she's going to just have to keep getting in the driver's seat, because if you give Mitch an inch, he will take a yard, right? And he will run all over you. So you can't lose who you are because you're so enamored with trying to make this the best situation that it can be, because you morphing into what he wants you to be is not authentic to you. And I've always felt people can only be fake for so long before the real them comes out, right? And I don't want it to get to a point where the real Krysten comes out and it's this like jarring response because you've done so much to try to acquiesce to what he wants you to be. So advocate for yourself, Krysten, and do not get lost in Mitch and all of his idiosyncrasies and bitchy ways, okay? Now moving forward to Lindy and Miguel and this whole notion of keeping score. Now listen, how do I say this in a constructive way? So Miguel is of the notion that in relationships, you shouldn't give people unlimited attempts to essentially mess you over, to screw you over. And Lindy is more of the mindset that, we're married, we're committed, and in that, I'm giving you unlimited grace in terms of you're going to make mistakes constantly, and I'm going to be there for us to level set and start over. Now, listen, in a perfect world, right? In a perfect world, we would all be so mature and so therapy-based to give people unlimited attempts to, get it right, unlimited attempts to get on the right path of, whatever situation that they're in. But honestly, y'all, I'm Team Miguel in the situation. One of my favorite sayings, right, and I've said this several times on this damn channel, 1 time is a fluke, 2 is a pattern, and by 5, it's a lifestyle. I don't believe in giving someone unlimited carte blanche to just screw over my entire life, and I'm just supposed to be there for them continually under the guise of, I'm giving them grace. And I think Miguel brought up a really good point. If I had betrayed you, how many chances would you keep giving me? And so she basically said, I'm going to keep giving you grace because I don't keep track of it. And I think keeping track of it is like, disingenuous to what this process is basically about. And I just think it's unrealistic. For me, it's 3. 3 is always the magic number for me, baby. 1 time is a fluke, 2 is a pattern. I'm going to be side-eyeing your ass. And by the 3rd time, I'm pretty much packing my bags and I'm out. But that is me. And I think me and Miguel are similar in that situation. Now, in a perfect world, we would all love to be Lindy, but I don't think that's realistic. And I don't think that any one of them is wrong in the situation. I just think it's different mindsets and different ways to go about a relationship. And I don't think that their ways, in terms of their individual ways, are compatible with each other. So y'all drop down in the comments and let me know what you think. If you agree or disagree, or if, it's okay to give someone unlimited chances to mess you over, or putting it better, unlimited chances of grace in terms you're going to continue to make mistakes and I'm going to be there to level set. Now on to Morgan and Binh, baby. Binh had a breakthrough. He was expecting Morgan to be perfect because in his life, he wasn't perfect, right? And I always say, if we do not heal our past traumas, we are destined to repeat them in our current lives, right? And so listen, Morgan has daddy issues, and turns out so does Binh, right? Morgan's daddy issues makes her not give people multiple chances, right? You do one thing to me and I'm out. Binh's daddy issues, they were more of a people-pleasing aspect, and because he felt that he had to be perfect for his father, and because of, he thought he had to be perfect for just Asian culture in general, he kind of projected that notion onto Morgan, right? Which was an unfair thing to do. And, she did the same thing in terms of, how she did in terms of trying to make it seem like Binh's mistakes were representative of her relationship with her father and not giving him a second chance, right? So it's essentially two sides of the same coin. Now, I loved the conversations that they were having, right? Because sometimes when you have a disconnect, you have to level set, right? You have daddy issues, I have daddy issues. This is how they've affected me, this is how they've affected me, and this is how we can move forward, right? So for their level set, they just decided, let's focus on the relationship itself. Let's have these conversations. Let's do more fun stuff. Let's show that, we have affection for each other. We're going to do activities to kind of, bring that out of each other, bring those loving feelings, bring those feelings, not even loving feelings. When you have a breakdown with somebody like they did, you have to start back at like, right? Like they were never in terms of like the love scenario, but you actually have to level set at like. So it seemed like this episode, they were really trying to find a way to just get back to that place of like. And if we can get back to that place of like, then we can move forward from there. So I love their progress this episode. But baby, listen, I guess we're going to find out the next episode that things can't stay the same for too long, and this path that they were on, it immediately got derailed. Now, we don't exactly know why Morgan left. She said something to the effect of Alexis talked to her and said that, he was talking about her in terms of Binh was talking about Morgan again behind her back, right? And so listen, the mere fact that Alexis brought this information to Morgan makes me truly believe that all roads lead back to Justin, okay? And like I told y'all, I'm about patterns. One time is a fluke, twice is a pattern, and by 5, it's a lifestyle. Binh, if talking to Justin the first time did not pan out in a fruitful way, why in the hell would you go back to him a second time, okay? Now, I don't know the full scenario. I don't know if, what he exactly said that has pissed Morgan off. But listen, if Alexis is bringing it to Morgan, it means that all roads led back to Justin, okay? I don't understand that whole situation. I understand that they're friends. I understand they have a friendship. I understand that he feels safe with him. But if you keep telling your friend X information and it keeps resulting in Y result in terms of them running to their spouse and it getting back to the other person, I don't think that it's a safe enough place for you to be putting your innermost thoughts if it's just going to end up circling back to Morgan and causing a whole bunch of stress, struggles, and strife in your larger relationship. So we shall see what should happen next week in terms of what he actually said and why it affected her in such a profound way. Now, y'all, I really think that's all I want to say on this episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, don't lose yourself trying to be everything to someone else. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.